I've been doing portrait photography for a long time. Portraits were one of the first things to ever make me and my camera money, and they continue to be one of the main ways that I support my business. And the business of portrait photography is never gonna go away. People are always gonna need their photos made. People are always gonna be graduating from high school. People are always gonna be getting engaged. Portrait photographers occupy a very special space in photography. They occupy, I believe, one of the most emotionally important spaces in photography. They are in the business of making memories last in a way that a lot of other photographers just aren't. But portrait photographers that do senior portraits, families, newborns, maternity, all of these different kinds of shoots share this common theme of achievement, a big moment in someone's life or a big moment in family's life. There's something very special about portrait photography, documenting and saving these moments in time for people to look back on for years and years to come. Portrait photographers have a hard job. I don't claim to be a portrait photographer, I'm just a photographer that happens to do portraits. I think portrait photography is immensely impressive, and people that do it at a very high level are amazing to me. Because of its difficulty, I believe that in portrait photography, you need all the help you can get in making beautiful images. And I think the biggest factor in doing that is gonna be your lens. So I wanna share with you today the best lens far and away that I have ever found for doing portraits. And that is the 85mm f1.4. I want to talk specifically today about my Sigma 85mm f1.4 and why I believe this is one of the best portrait photography lenses you can use. If you've never heard of Sigma before, I have done a video talking about Sigma compared to Canon lenses, specifically talking about this 85mm again. If you're interested to see what I think and how it stacks up to those primary lens manufacturers, go ahead and go watch that video. I think it'll probably be pretty helpful for you. Before we get specific into 85mm as a focal length, let's talk a little bit about focal lengths in general and what they do. Focal length is going to be the zoom of your lens, how wide or zoomed in your lens is going to be. I imagine if you're watching this video, you already know that. But what you may not know is that different focal lengths are going to affect your subject in different ways. For example, a wider focal length, something like 16mm, 18mm, 24mm, is going to give a little bit of subject distortion or perspective distortion to your image. I'm going to show you a couple examples on the screen right now of what I mean. The way you can think about it is that different focal lengths are going to interpret the human face and human features differently. Wider lenses are going to tend to stretch the face and the human body out a little bit, making it seem disproportionately large to the surrounding image. And on the other hand, more zoomed in lenses, something like a 135 or a 200mm, if you start getting up there, 200, 300, 400mm, really big lenses like that are going to tend to compress or squeeze the human face and features together. So focal length is really important when you're picking a lens for your portrait photography. I think the golden zone of portrait lenses is going to be something like 35 to 85. I know people, you can do a 135, so it's personal preference. I think 85 is about the extent of zoom I would want on a portrait lens. So 85mm falls right in that solid golden zone of focal lengths. So that, I think, is one of the reasons the 85mm is such a phenomenal portrait lens. Another reason this lens is so phenomenal, in my opinion, is its ability to go down to low f-stops. Now, I am not of the opinion that you should shoot portraits wide open. I don't think you should shoot really anything wide open. I think that a blurry background is a really beautiful thing and it makes for great images, but you don't have to be wide open to get the blurry background. Every portrait I shoot at f2 or above. I usually hover between f2 and f2.8, and I can go a little bit higher if I'm shooting multiple people. But shooting at a low f-stop, even something low like an f2, is going to give you some really good subject to background separation. It's really going to make your subject pop off the background. It's going to highlight exactly what you're focusing on. And for portraits, that's everything. You want to make sure that you've got that person in focus, that their eyes are in focus, but so is the tip of their nose, so are their ears. You're not cutting off areas of this person in the portrait. And if you shoot wide open, you can tend to do that. You know, something like f1.4 is a very shallow depth of field, and so oftentimes if you're shooting down that low, their eyes might be in focus, but their nose is out of focus, or just past their eyes is out of focus as well. That's no good. You want to have all of the human face and human body in focus. On the flip side of that, this lens has options. If you're trying to do something creative, if you want to do something different, if you need more light, the f1.4 gives you those options. That's what I think makes it such a good lens, because you can get down into those low f-stops if you want them, but you also have the option to stay up a little bit, keep everything really sharp. Now, something that's going to be a little bit more personal preference and somewhat specific to this 85mm is going to be the overall look of the photos. This 85mm produces some of the most beautiful images that are in my portfolio. A lot of my favorite images are going to be shot on this 85mm f1.4, and I believe that's due to the combination of a couple of things. It's going to be the 85mm focal length is a great focal length. It's one that I personally gravitate towards. The low f-stop allowing for beautiful background separation and a blur in your backgrounds, and the sharpness of this lens. This Sigma 85mm is one of the sharpest lenses I've ever shot with, bar none. It is a beautifully sharp lens. As long as you're not shooting wide open, you are going to get crisp, beautiful tack sharp images, especially facial features, eyes, all of that kind of stuff is going to be beautifully sharp. While I don't like my images to look super clinically sharp, I'll usually do some things to soften them up just slightly. I'd rather have a sharp lens than a lens that's not quite sharp enough, because it's easy to take sharpness away. It's a lot harder to add sharpness back in. I think this lens excels for portraits. I use it for plenty of other things, but I feel that the area that it just shines through the most in is portrait photography. I use this lens at every single wedding I've ever done, every single senior shoot I've ever done, any family shoots, newborns, it doesn't matter. If there are people involved, I'm going to the 85mm. The only time I wouldn't is if I don't have room, because a little bit longer focal length, sometimes you can run out of room, not be able to get the composition that you want. And in that case, go with a 50mm. It'll probably do very well, and you'll be able to move around a little bit more. If you're a portrait photographer or an aspiring portrait photographer looking for the right lens, I would highly recommend giving the Sigma 85mm f1.4 a shot. It sits in a good price point. It's a great focal length, it's got that low f-stop, and it's incredibly sharp. It's my favorite lens I've ever used, as well as my favorite portrait lens. If you've got any questions, please feel free to ask me. I've been shooting with this lens for a long time. I know it in and out, and so if I can answer anything, I will be happy to. I hope this was enjoyable, I hope this was informative, and I hope you go out and start taking some phenomenal portraits. Catch you later.